Yeah, that's one thing. Is like you kind of become part of the city. Everybody who planned out a trip to go to, whatever beach, you become the highlight. Yeah. I mean, on the streets, like, there's no ticket sales.
Yeah.
No one's, you gotta create that. You gotta create that crowd. Like, nobody's telling people like, oh, hey, there's gonna be a magic show in 5 minutes right over there. I mean, unless it's it's a big pitch that people know that there's gonna be, like Covent Garden, people know there's gonna be a show every 30 minutes.
Yeah, there's certain
But
places that are like are made for that, and that's really cool. And that's kind of like what the aspiring street performers like you and I like. I'll go to those places to research and to see how I could get to that point. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see it because it is inspiring. And I think it's also cool. People stop and watch people gather crowds because they're also pretty scared of doing that themselves. So they find admiration for people that could do that. They could stand in front of hundreds of people or even just a crowd of 20 people and perform.
yeah, you gotta start from scratch on the streets.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, we all
um,
do. We're all
you start from scratch. Like, if I do if you're sharing a pitch with someone, and this one performer builds a crowd of like 200 people, and then you're up next. Those 200 people aren't just gonna come out of nowhere. You gotta start off with one person. You gotta build that to 15 people. You gotta take those 15 people, make them stay too. You gotta build that to like, eventually 100 people. And a lot of people have trouble like making them stay, which is important. I've seen people build huge crowds of like 200 people. By the end of the show, like half of that crowd is already gone. And then the spaces that are filled, they've barely been watching the show for like 2 minutes and whatever.
yeah.
So it's an art form just to build a crowd. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's one
Beautiful.
form. So how do you keep the crowd?
I just, it's with that spectacle. I have my grand finale. I'm just hyping it up. I'm telling them like, hey, I'm gonna do something with this banana. You know, does everybody want to see it? Say yeah, because they're not sure about this whole magic guy. I just met him like 5 minutes ago. Is everyone really gonna stick around and see his show? So once the whole crowd together does that big yeah, now like everybody's connected and together, and now everybody's like thinking, okay, this is gonna be worth it. I mean, there's a huge crowd watching this guy. Even the people that are with their arms folded, they see that, well, there's this big crowd engaged. So, everybody wants to see this big grand finale. We got to stick around for it. This is going to be worth it. He's not going to do it again. So we got to stick around. It's all about hyping up that big grand finale. After that big grand finale, if you want to do another trick, I guarantee you half of your crowd is going to leave. You know.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and it's tough to hold them sometimes because you never know what's going on in their lives, and they could be busy and they're in a rush, or they have to go to their parking meter or whatever. There's so many things. But for the most
Yeah.
part, people are walking around in like a touristy area. They're there to hang out and have fun and check out the area and be a tourist. And seeing a street performer is part of that, tourist trap. Because now they're like, oh yeah, there's a show going on here, and it's so
Right.
awesome that they can run into that and experience it. And
Right.
people love it. I mean, I've come across so many people who are like super stoked when they see me or any other street performer, and they're like, oh, you just made my day. I'm sure you've heard that because they're never expecting it. And that's something really special that we can really turn people's days around.
Yeah. That's one thing. Is like you kind of become part of the city. Everybody who planned out a trip to go to, whatever beach, you become the highlight. And that's really cool. Is that you become like just an ambassador to the city. You become part. Just like the little ice cream shop that everybody goes to. Um, you become part of that. People are excited that they came to the beach and they saw you.
Can you name some struggles that you've dealt with on the streets?
One of my biggest struggles was just finding a damn pitch, finding a place to work where I didn't have to, take an 2 hour long commute. And for a while, that place was the Orange Circle, downtown Orange. And it was pretty good, like, especially like in December, there's a lot of people going to, because they decorate the place. So a lot of people go there to take pictures and stuff, and there's a lot of foot traffic.
So tell me about your story though. You went busking recently amongst the quarantine.
Yeah. So I went back to the Orange Circle where there is no foot traffic. Maybe there's like, someone sitting in a bench over there. Every once in a while, someone walks by with their dog. It's dead there. There's maybe like, there's no foot traffic, but I thought, if I lure with the spectacle, I can convince a few people to come in. I'll do a show for them. I'll get like $20 and I'll go home happy. So yeah, it wasn't like I really planned to go out and do like 20 shows and work like 3 hours. I was out there, I worked like 20 minutes and I pulled it off.